morning, everybody. This is Pastor Bonnie, and I am going to be reading from my book, Angelic Encounters Enlisting Help from Heaven. And I just got it published in a hard copy version, which came out so great. I'll put the listing for it in the description box. I have it listed on Dragonfly Corners as a gift set with a beautiful picture that goes with it. But these are true angelic encounters that I have actually experienced myself. They are true. I've actually seen the angels, and the stories kind of let you know how they're active in your life, even though you may not be aware of them. And then, in order to write the stories of the angels, I also had to weave in my personal life story. So, this is my life story, and I just humbly submit this for your enjoyment, and we'll get started. Chapter 2 Josh Kept Safe. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only make me dwell in safety. There would be another year before I was to experience my first open vision, where I would see an angel standing beside my bed, and I will tell you about that vision in the next chapter. However, I did have a very real experience that I wanted to share with you here. At the time the incident occurred, we were living in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I have already shared with you the joyous story of having a baby after the doctor told us that we would never have any. I had to take fertility pills to get pregnant with that baby. And believe me, I prayed over every single one of them, believing God for a baby of my own. After our first son was born, because I had to take those pills to conceive, I wasn't worried about getting pregnant again. Excuse me. And besides, sorry guys, I was breastfeeding anyhow and thought I wouldn't be able to get pregnant. When our oldest son Dan was about 7 months old, I was still breastfeeding him when my supply just stopped. I was feeling exhausted and sick to my stomach in the morning, so I decided to have blood work done just in case. Lo and behold, I found I was expecting baby number 2. I was so excited that I screamed out loud over the phone. No matter that this one wasn't planned or that there would be 2 babies only 14 months apart, I was going to be blessed with another child, and my dream for a larger family was soon going to become a reality. This pregnancy had turned out to be much easier than the first one. It was the only one that I didn't experience the horrible morning sickness that I had with the first one and all the other ones after it. My days were spent taking care of my oldest son, who was just learning to walk and do the things that every mother does to keep the house running with a small toddler around. Jeff was working 2 jobs to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table, and the bills paid. We were barely scraping by, but we were making it. I had thought that it would be fun to have a girl since I already had a son, and we had the name Lisa picked out. We just couldn't settle on a name for a boy yet. I used to look forward to spending the evenings reading or crocheting after Dan was in bed. It was quiet and peaceful, and Jeff was often gone working. So it was this particular ordinary night when I was about 7 months along and very pregnant. I recall using my expanding belly as a handy shelf, and I had a ball of twine sitting on it and a pattern book working on an intricate crocheted tablecloth. Suddenly, I had this sense that someone was standing in front of me, a presence I could not see. It was so odd to me, as I had never experienced anything like that before, and it was unexpected, as I certainly did not have my mind on anything of a spiritual nature. I had this impression on the inside that the being was an angel, and I heard these words, "What can I do for you?" Out of nowhere came this response, "Keep my baby safe." I felt as if the message was sent and received, and the angel left me sitting there puzzled as to what that encounter meant, as I certainly had no reason to be the least bit concerned about my baby. I also had this inner knowing that this baby was to be another son, and so a few days after the encounter, we named him Joshua Jeffrey after his father. The rest of the pregnancy was uneventful, and I nearly forgot about the encounter until the time for my delivery came. I had been sick with the flu, with vomiting and diarrhea, and woke up in the middle of the night in hard labor. The pains caused me to double over, and they were less than 3 minutes apart. The drive to the hospital was nearly an hour away, and Jeff dashed out the door with his shirt unbuttoned. He ran every light there was because he could tell this baby was going to get here fast, and he did not want to have to deliver me on the side of the road. We breathlessly arrived at the hospital, and they took me to labor and delivery. I was checked in and found to be 5 centimeters dilated, and the nurse told me there was no need to worry, that it would be many hours before the baby would arrive. Excuse me, guys. 5 minutes later, I was screaming, "You get the doctor now, the baby is coming." Sure enough, she checked me, and the baby's head was already starting to crown. I recall the doctor running in the room, putting on his gloves, and he got there just in time to catch the baby, who, as it turned out, was a boy, just like I had felt from the angelic visit. I remember wondering why the doctor was so concerned about the baby's APGAR scores, and he was so angry with the nurse that he yelled, "Why wasn't he monitored?" The nurse had never put a monitor on me because she thought I had plenty of time left before the delivery. What we found out later was the doctor had been worried because Josh was born with the cord wrapped twice around his neck. He had been in distress, and because the nurse never monitored me, no one knew. I went from 5 centimeters dilated to delivery in 15 minutes, and that proved to be the very thing that saved my son's life. It wasn't until 5 years later that we were told that Josh had suffered a mild stroke, and because of the lack of oxygen, he has a very mild case of cerebral palsy. The angelic messenger had indeed been sent, and I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that he truly kept my baby safe. Josh's childhood was very difficult. He had to wear a brace on his left leg because it turned inward. Children were cruel and taunted him over it. The mild stroke left him with memory problems, and he had to learn to count by using beans to have something to touch. Still, he had, and to this day, an amazing ability to love others, often giving sacrificially to them. He told me later that the Lord had revealed to him that the side of his brain affected by the stroke was the side that God could use the most because it gave him his spiritual edge. Because the Lord promises, my strength is made perfect in weakness. Josh battled with his self-worth for many years until one time at a youth meeting, a woman told him, "God loves you and has an amazing plan for your life." Josh felt as if he was instantly healed from that moment on. He no longer struggles from the memory issues, and he has gone on to be a fine young man. He still gives sacrificially and finds great joy in being who God made him to be. Sometimes we don't always understand why we have to go through hard things in our lives, but the Lord promises this to us. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who are called according to his purposes for them. Romans 8:28. I have really enjoyed this, you guys, and I'll read a chapter every day or two. And I just really appreciate you stopping by. I hope that encourages you, that angels are at work in your life too. And most of the time, none of us are aware of it. But God has amazing plans, and he loves you. And have a great day.